Everybody, welcome to the Power Player Lifestyle Magazine. I am Leela Christine, my amazing co-host. We have the amazing Dr. Moshe Lewis, and we are live in the house, Power Player Lifestyle, all the way. It's all about health. It's all about wellness. It's all about yoga. And with that said, we are introducing you to an amazing, inspirational yogi teacher. I just want to say that when I first met Krishna Kaur and I came to a yoga class, I was inspired. And I never, ever, ever forgot about the techniques in relationship to Kundalini Yoga. So, Krishna Kaur, welcome. Thank you. Thank you. So, how did you get into this whole world of yoga? What was the inspiration, the start for you?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. But I have to say it wasn't something that I planned. I can almost say that it happened by accident. Mm-hmm. But I had been in the theater originally, right? And I had just come through some challenging thoughts and feelings about who am I and what am I doing with my life. And I was visiting my brother in Boulder, Colorado, mm-hmm. and he came home from work saying, "Hey, there's a Holy Man Jam happening down at the University of Boulder. Do you want to go?" And I said, "Well, sure, why not, you know?" And so I had my first yoga class there, and it just totally changed my mind, mm-hmm. changed my heart, changed my feeling, opened something inside of me that I didn't even know was closed.
Wow.
And it just started that way, and I began to follow the trail of this teacher, Yogi Bhajan, mm-hmm. and learn from him. And next thing I know, I'm being sent out to teach, wow. you know. And but it was an awakening. I think it was an awakening. It answered a lot of subtle questions that I had, but I didn't make a commitment to it at all for a few years. I was just testing it and trying it out to make sure that it was for me. But I found nothing that was not satisfying, that didn't nurture me in some way. I didn't find anything that was weird or off about it. It was just hard.
Wow.
And it was so hard. And I said, "But I'm a dancer, you know, why is this so hard on my body?"
Wow.
But I learned a lot about yoga, particularly this style of yoga. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about it coming here to be with you. And I'm thinking that this body is so complicated. There's so many things happening in it. And as humans walking around with this body, we don't use it all completely. We don't understand the parts that work in it, you know. And when I realized that every feeling, every emotion, every thought, every belief has a place in the body where it sits.
Really?
Yes.
And sometimes that belief could have wrapped around it some very insecure energies, mm-hmm. some lack of understanding of oneself or even of the situation. It could have some remnants from a past life. Mm-hmm. It could have some effect from being in the womb. But whatever that is, it's as though we've come here at this time to be able to understand it, adjust it, and allow ourselves to be more totally that human being that we were born to be.
Wow.
And I found that by just going through the process mm-hmm. of teaching my body along with my breath, because they work together, you know. And right now within the pandemic, there's a lot of people that are gravitating towards yoga of all sorts and of all styles, which I'm just so grateful for.
We are.
you know.
We are.
But I also have to remind students, just remember, it's okay to breathe and get still, but remember that your body is also holding some of whatever that is.
Wow.
And there's a relationship between the thought, the mind, the mantra, the mudra, and the body.
What's the difference between, I know that I gravitated more into Kundalini Yoga, but you have Hatha and you have all these different versions of yoga. So what are the differences? I mean, a lot of people want to understand, okay, so what is Kundalini? What is Hatha? What is, all the different... There's so many out there now.
Yes,
many,
and there's
practices.
And it's true, and they're like approaches.
Okay.
What approach facilitates what you want to try to do. But they all have their specific way of focusing. Mm-hmm. Kundalini Yoga is a yoga for householders. So you might not be doing advanced stretches or long poses or things like that, but you're working on the body in such a way that you can begin to help the body to eliminate.
Really?
Eliminate the residue of tension, the residue of thinking, the residue of just hoping and not believing. All those emotions that we have, they have a place in the body where it sits, you know. And so if you're using your body in a certain way, you can begin to awaken or uncover some of those places where the body is holding memory of things that you've experienced in your life. And Kundalini Yoga, being a householder's yoga, is really built for the average person who just wants to get healthy, who just wants to feel happy, who just wants to be in touch with their own spirit and relationship with the divine. And so there's a lot of very simple things that you would do, but you do them repetitively, long enough that it has an effect. You know?
What is the pose where the breath of fire? And I know that when I took your classes, and that still stays with me, where you just sit, you sit on your yoga mat and you hold your, arms, you kind of go like this rather, and then you do deep breaths of fire. Like you would say at least 50, or do you go 100? I mean, because that's like really great for clearing your head.
Yeah, breath of fire is just one of the foundations of Kundalini Yoga.
Right.
Because as a breath, you know what the breath does, right? It's you're bringing in oxygen, you're releasing carbon dioxide, you're healing the parts of your body that require the elements of your breath. Mm-hmm. And so by doing breath of fire, you're actually cleansing the breath, cleansing the structure of the breath, and opening up ways in which the breath is not really serving you because you're not really breathing properly. You know, so if you're in a particular posture, if you apply the breath of fire to it appropriately as it's designed, then it could give you more energy to sustain that posture. But also, if it's affecting the kidneys or the bladder or the lower back, then those organs and those parts of your body are also elevated. They're released. They're able to let go of some of the things that the body is holding on to. Just having an emotion of any kind creates a flow of tension in the body. Even when you think that you're over it, sometimes those places of tension have not really disappeared yet. They're still hanging in there. So by practicing a particular kriya or set of movements, postures, breathing techniques, you're able to help the body to unload.
Now, what's a kriya? I mean, because some people may not know what that word means.
Good question.
Yeah, a kriya.
Well, kriya for us in Kundalini Yoga is a sequence of postures, of movement, of breath, particularly also of mantra, and that create a particular effect. It's like a recipe for a cake, rather. So you're baking a cake. It requires this much flour, this much sugar, this much milk and honey and all those things, oils. But without that mixture in a certain way, in a certain pattern, and a certain process or timing, you're not going to end up with cake. You might get cookies, but it may not be cake.
Especially if you love cake.
Well, if you need cake, right? But it's fascinating to just see how sensitive the body is and how awake the mind is. And when they're working together on shifting something, it happens. But also, it's important to remember that it doesn't all happen at once.
Wow.
So you may need to do that same series for several days, for several minutes, in order for the body to start releasing the tension that it's holding.
I'm really paying attention to what you're saying. So, like many of us go to yoga class, or now because of the pandemic, we are in our homes more, and we tune into YouTube, or we have, some type of online streaming service for yoga. And some of us remember, I remember the techniques that you had taught. So it's kind of like memory. So you're saying that we should practice yoga more often than not, because it's like a series. It's a technique for purifying your body and balancing
Yes.
you? Okay.
It's the body has a way of working that needs sometimes continual. Well, like the doctor will tell you, take this 3 times a day for 7 days or for 2 weeks or whatever, because it's going to take that long for the body to absorb it, to respond to it, and to actually deliver what you want.
Right.
So in a similar fashion, if you're doing a particular series, and you can do them 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row, a week, every day, it has a lot of benefit to it. Sometimes you don't need to do that. But when you do, to be able to be willing to, is an important process in the development of your relationship with the Kundalini Yoga and your body.
Can you heal your body with, practicing Kundalini Yoga? Like, for instance, if a person has a headache, or if they have some pains in their body, their back, is Kundalini a great way to help release some of that pain or that tension?
Yes. I mean, all yoga is.
All yoga.
All styles of yoga is good at that. But each one has its own style and approach. Some may take a little bit longer than others, may require a different kind of repetition on it, So it's like anything else that has its own style and approach. It has its own recipe for being able to deliver what you're wanting to receive. But I think what's important nowadays, with all the things going on in the pandemic, and particularly with our kids, there's a lot of mental issues that are happening, and they show up in the body, and the body shows up in the mental issues that are going on. So I've found a lot that in practicing and teaching Kundalini Yoga to kids in schools, in detention centers, at home, it helps them to find a way of separating the sensations in their body with their emotional and mental understanding and ability to have the amount of patience that they need to be able to make the correction that is needed. So it's like defragging. You have to defrag, in a sense, what it is that's going on. I find that there's a lot of help by just doing breathing techniques, but also there's a lot of help by doing the actual movement in the body, because the body holds the memory. And so we talked about yoga early on today, and it was really beautiful listening to you share. But it's important, I think, for now, to go a little bit deeper than just feeling relaxed. Because to feel just relaxed can be like a little sedative,
right,
and it may not last. You want to go deeper and find the source of where the body is clogged up and where it is resisting the thinking, resisting the full impact of your breathing technique, whatever that might be. And there's several different rhythmic breathing techniques for specific purposes. Then you kind of are working that in harmony with what is possible.
You mentioned something about, and I think we were talking or sharing the information about yoga for kids. You had a camp or a series just for children, elementary children, I'm assuming.
Well,
yoga for kids or yoga for youth or something like
yoga
that.
For youth.
Yoga for youth.
Yoga for youth. And the yoga in that acronym, Yoga for Youth, stands for Your Own Greatness Affirmed, Y.O.G.A. Our intention is to have every child be able to affirm their own individual greatness, so that they can stand as a tower of strength within themselves. And I found that we also have programs in this high school, Thomas Riley High School, for pregnant teens.
Really?
Absolutely. A beautiful pregnant program which gives them information about how to prepare themselves for childbirth and how to care for themselves once they've had their child. At the same time, they're growing themselves as young mothers who have a future and who want to find a better way to do their life. So it's life-changing. So we've done programs there a lot. We started off in the detention facilities, Camp Kilpatrick and Camp Miller, where the kids were doing time.
Wow.
Doing time for 4 years or whatever. We brought it to them there first. And to watch those young boys, just struggle with the postures and struggle with the breath, but hold a clear determination that they really wanted to see something changing in themselves. And it would just bring tears to your eyes to watch them and see them grow up and learn to shift the way they're thinking about themselves in relationship to the challenges that they're facing.
So are you saying that the children who are in detention centers, some who may have almost went to prison or whatever the case may be as far as that is concerned, yoga can be instrumental in helping our youth to control the rage, maybe the anger or the depression and things like that that are rampant, because mental health is a big issue, specifically during this pandemic, you know.
Well, I've seen a lot of those changes taking place, Leah, and it just warms my heart. And a lot of these youngsters, they come in and they're actually afraid. It's mostly the fear of not being okay, the fear of being taken advantage of, that causes them to buff up a little bit in their attitude, and to teach them that there's another way to approach it. You know, there's another way to be safe. And the yoga and the breathing techniques and the exercises and the postures that they hold and the rhythmic movements are done a lot in Kundalini Yoga. You know, just move. It's just like you're massaging and, you know, working with a piece of something that you want to lighten up or lift up or heal in some way. It makes a big difference. The thing that turned me on, first of all, to want to teach yoga to our kids was when they passed the 3 strikes law.
Wow.
Do you remember that?
Sure.
Back in the middle 90s. And I said, this is just an opportunity to get more black men and women in jails. And that just made me stand up and just say, no. There's got to be something better than this. And so that started me on the journey of focusing on our youth, our youngsters. And so I've taught this in Mexico, you know, in China. We have classes all over that we've taught in different languages, which will help youngsters everywhere, because everywhere they're all struggling.
They are.
They're struggling everywhere, and it's sad to see, and it's sad. But it's helpful to see how they can transform so quickly with just a little attention, because it's not just the thing that they're doing; it's the energy that they get from the teacher. It's the honesty that they get. It's the fact that I'm not letting you get away with that. No, forget it, you know. And it's having to stand up to them and let them know that they have more to give than what they think they have. So there's a lot of nurturing that goes along with that, with the classes we're teaching. But it's exciting to see the kids come out of there,
So...
And where's a good place for kids to begin, younger people or somebody that's new to the art form? How would you suggest they start trying to learn and explore it?
Well, we've worked with children who are in kindergarten.
Wow.
The Watts Learning Center, went to kindergarten, first grade, elementary school, high school. We have a program going on in Montgomery County, you know, in Maryland. And these kids are just really frustrated and freaked out. They're middle school kids. So I would say, to answer your question, start anywhere, you know. There is an approach to every age level to begin the process. And then the most important thing is that you keep it going. You keep it going. You keep it steady. So it becomes a habit, becomes a process, like brushing your teeth, like combing your hair, like putting on clean clothes. It becomes something that you cannot do without because you don't feel comfortable. You know, you have to somehow find a way to keep going.
Right.
Keep going. So, yeah, I think to answer your question, start anywhere. You know, I'm online right now because that's what the pandemic has done. It stopped the in-person classes from happening. But there are still some in-person things going on which are really helpful.
Right.
And I'm doing a little bit of that gradually, moving it in. But I think there's nothing more powerful than being able to have a face-to-face with a student. You know, a face-to-face, being able to feel their energy, feel their sadness, feel their excitement, feel their frustration, feel all these things, and look them in the eye and say, you know what? You're better than that. And I see it, and therefore I'm not going to let you get away with it. Not now, not tomorrow, not ever. And watch them just sit up like this and just say, thank you, ma'am, you know.
Yeah, our children are very important. And in relationship to how often, like how many minutes a day would you suggest if a person's a career-oriented man or woman, and everybody is just like on this clock of work, 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 what's the least amount of time that we should put towards yoga daily? Just individuals, regardless of Kundalini or, whatever the practice may be as far as the form of yoga.
That's an interesting question. I'm sure that lots of folks are asking that and trying to figure out, what is the minimum? What is the maximum? What is this? What is that? Mm-hmm. And I can't give an answer to that because it's so individual.
Okay.
But I can say that having a practice that you do every day is probably the best way to love yourself, the best way to heal yourself, the best way to grow yourself. Even if it's 20 minutes.
Okay.
Better to do 20 minutes every day than 2 hours once a week.
Okay.
Right. So consistency over
Consistency.
time.
Consistency, yes. It's sort of, because the healing that you're going for takes time.
It does.
And sometimes it's not fast. Sometimes it's very slow. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it needs different kind of components added into it.
Okay.
So if you can go regularly for a yoga class, that's really, really good. And then do some regular practice after the class, through between classes for yourself. That's really what makes it work. If you think about it, yoga is not an invention in the West. Mm-hmm. It's an invention in the East. And they took time to develop it. They weren't looking at the clock to rush off to work.
Right.
They were looking at their bodies, where the body is holding tension, where the mind is holding stress, where the attitudes are affecting and impacting their ability to pay attention to certain things. And that's just a process of making a commitment to do it,
It's all about the commitment.
The commitment is your best teacher and is your best friend,
It is.
And you can see it I like sports.
Okay.
So I'm watching football, I'm watching tennis, I'm watching all this stuff, right?
Really?
Oh, yeah.
This is good.
Sure. Yes, she likes moving.
Yeah.
We love that.
And I appreciate seeing the discipline that it takes for an athlete to get good. The discipline it takes, the dedication, the determination, the mindset. You have to change your mind, change your way of thinking. You're not going to always be able to do the things you want. Sometimes you have to do the things that you need to do.
Right.
And because you have a goal, you have a direction that you want to go in, and you're not going to give that up, then you are motivated. Mm-hmm. That motivation is the thing that you need to hold you steady in the times when you feel like, do I have to?
Right.
Well, no, you don't have to, but you get to.
Right.
You get to do it. And when you do it and you begin to feel the benefits of it and feel the power and the strength that you have, you kind of don't want to let that go. You want to keep that going. Your winning is you winning yourself. You're winning, not like a football game or a basketball game, but your winning is winning you. You, the person that can withstand pressure. Mm-hmm. Pressure from school, pressure from the communities, pressure from the media, pressure from all kinds of things. There's a lot of pressure out there. And the younger and younger and younger the kids are, the more and more pressure they're beginning to get from the media and all the social media and all this stuff. It's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure. Just even after dealing with the pandemic and, I'm not going to say we're post-pandemic, but we're in this pandemic right now, and some people are going through a lot. Really, everyone is going through something. It doesn't matter, whether you're rich or you're poor, in between. I think that yoga does make a powerful impact. And I had slacked for a second, but I'm back. I usually do a 15 or 20 minute, when I wake up, and I'm like, come on, you got to move your legs. You got to move your body. You have to do your breaths of fire. But I want to get to a point personally where I'm doing yoga at least 45 minutes to an hour a day. That's my aim, to go back to that. And you do yoga as well.
Yeah, I love it.
I do too. I mean, I go early in the morning before the sun comes up.
Oh, really?
And that means I have a full day to get my work done.
Wait a minute. Is there something in that by performing yoga before sunrise?
Yes. It's when the energy of the sun itself is not bearing down on you, but it is just rising, even though you don't see it. It's coming at you at a heart level. So the frequency of the sun is coming at the level of your heart. So if at that time you're in your practice, then that's a really, really good time. You get fed a lot by that. Plus the fact that everybody else is sound asleep. You know?
So wait a minute. So are you saying that we technically, to get our body really balanced, with performing yoga, the early morning hours before 6 a.m. may be best?
I would say yes. It's really good, but even though it's not always possible for people, if you can do it. For example, there's a group of folks here in Southern California that are doing it every single day, and a different person is leading it, and it's all online.
Wow.
And so I was just proud of them for putting that together.
Okay.
Because it helps people a lot from different places around the world also who are looking for some support.
Right.
I just finished a level 1 training with people from Poland and from different places around the country, around the world. And though it was difficult, time-wise, to schedule things that would work out for them, it was really important for them to have the opportunity to do it, to practice it, and to get the teachings. But yeah, there's a lot that's possible. And I think once you decide, the doing becomes a lot easier. It's the indecision that makes it difficult to get started and almost impossible to sustain it.
See, that's key.
Sure.
Now I know that I'm going to change my yoga so I can do it before 6. Because, really, they stated that the height of awareness before you go and start your day is between 4 and 6 o'clock in the morning. And I know that.
Yes.
So I'm telling myself subconsciously, it's time to go back.
Yes.
Go back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's also important that you're making a commitment, And when you make a commitment to yourself and you continue to honor that commitment, you've also engaged your mind and you've also engaged your subconscious. And very often we can do yoga without really engaging the mind or the subconscious very much. Mm-hmm. You're going through the practice. You're just doing it because you said you would, because you did it, because blah, blah, blah. Right. But once you say, this is for me, and this time is for me, and I love me enough that I'm going to take care of me so I can be able to more openly and more clearly take care of those that I care about.
Wow, that's powerful.
I love that. That's what's so important. It's so enlightening.
Yeah, it's natural to us as humans. Mm-hmm. It's the development of our social structure that makes it appear to be unnatural. So having the courage to stand up and face the things that are not serving us. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I do. What's not serving you?
But they're coming at us with such enthusiasm, with such vigor, and with such energy, and da-da-da-da-da, that we begin thinking that it's good for us, But to stand up and say, I don't think so, I think this is better for me, so I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to turn that off because it's not serving. So
a lot of people are into yoga now. I mean, it's just like yoga is just like saying I'm walking down the street.
Right.
Especially in Los Angeles and California. I mean, all across the country, but I hear people every day saying, I'm doing yoga. I'm doing yoga.
More and more accepted.
Yeah.
It's so exciting.
Yes, it is.
It's so heartwarming. And yes, and I'm excited about it, and I'm glad for him. I'm just always saying, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going, Because there's always a place in any kind of training where you can hit a place where you kind of like, yes. How much longer can I do this, and I'm going to change and do something else.
Right.
So when you get to that place of double asking yourself, is this what I really want to do? It's good to sit down and get still and just focus on how it's serving you, so that you can just keep it going.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, when you face challenges, how do you sort of work through that process-wise? I
do a really hard Kriya.
Okay.
I do a Kriya that a lot of people don't like. Well, one of them is called stretch pose. It's where you're on your back. I lay my feet up 6 inches, head up 6 inches, eyes are open, looking at my toes, arms are stretched out this way, and I'm doing breath of fire.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
For like 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, whatever, and that just strengthens me from the core.
Yes.
Gives me some balance, and I wake up, I get up, and I think, wow, okay, I made it through. And if I can get through that, I can get through anything. So I like to challenge myself.
I love that.
Because that's the scientists keep saying that we use 10% of our human potential.
Right.
Just 10.
Is it still 10?
It's very low. Even if we're up to 20, it's still too low.
It hasn't gone up.
If it's gone up, we still have a long way to go.
Well, I look at that and I think, why do I want to do that? Why do I want to just use 10%? You know? Maybe if I brought in another 10%,
Okay, it's 20.
you know, or another 5% or something, it would give me the mental, emotional clarity to understand why I'm facing this challenge. Because I think there's always a reason, and I tell students all the time, and I tell myself all the time, you know, that just because it hurts or it doesn't feel comfortable, it doesn't mean that it's not serving you, you know? And sometimes it means you have to go through that, not some, you know, crazy thing, but just be able to sustain it. And my other message is, by the inch, it's a cinch, but by the yard, it's hard. So if you start something and you can only go 15 seconds with it, just do it for 15 seconds for 2 days and then add 2 seconds on it for your third day. 2 more days, add 2 more seconds on it for that. Just sort of like sneak up on yourself.
Right.
So that the mind doesn't think about, oh my God, I got to do this. Oh, it's this long, it's that, you know, no. But you're actually just sort of gradually taking your step. By the inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it can be hard. You know?
But we're going to make it happen.
Sure. Absolutely, do it regardless.
Wow. So yoga and diet, what is your, and we always ask the guests this, what's your daily diet? What do you do to keep yourself, because you've been in, as they say, hashtag in the game of yoga for over, 50 years?
Over 50 years.
Yeah, 50 years.
That's a long time.
That's a great.
It's not long, just 50 years.
Sure, this is okay.
Just 50
Just a
years,
number.
everybody.
It's just 50 years, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
Our human potential capacity is to live to be 165 years old. But we just start I said killing ourselves, you know,
Right.
slowly. But if that's human potential, then I know that I can just keep going a little bit more each day. Well, I'm a vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian since before I became a yoga teacher, a yoga person.
Okay.
And I also watch the chemicals that I put in my body, some vitamins, some minerals that are in the stores and things have a lot of chemicals in them. I try to avoid taking some of those. I try to make sure that I am exercising, if not fully every day, I'm doing it every other day, and I'm doing something every day.
Right.
I want to stretch my limits a little bit every day. And I also eat a lot of fresh vegetables. I don't do canned things too much.
Okay.
And I try not to do processed things too much. So my diet is rather simple, you know, but I love food, so I'm going to make sure that it's delicious for me.
Excellent.
I'm not going to suffer over my meal.
Right.
I said, no, I don't intend to suffer over a meal. I want to enjoy it. I like spicy things. I'll put some chili peppers in there and things like that and flare it up and, you know, make it kind of delicious for myself and enjoyable. But a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, a lot of green vegetables, a lot of water, you know, drinking water, and teas, organic teas. Ginger tea is my favorite right now, fresh ginger tea.
That gives you a kick, you know, when you take that
Yes.
ginger tea. Sometimes
Zest.
I have to get ready for ginger tea.
Right.
I'm like, are you ready? Are you ready to take ginger tea? You know, seriously.
Well, cool it down for yourself, you know. Don't make it quite so strong. And then build it up slowly. What did I say? By the inch, it's a...
Cinch.
By the
yard.
yard,
Is not that hard.
It's hard. By the yard, it's really hard.
I want to say it's not that hard.
we're going by the yard now.
Going by the yard.
We're not doing the inches.
But I believe in enjoying my food,
Yes.
so I don't like to suffer when I eat. And so that means I do a lot of cooking myself,
Okay.
you know. And
Do you have a garden?
I have a small garden now.
Okay.
I had a very nice garden at one point. Then my work became so busy that I wasn't able to take care of it very well. I was traveling too much.
Right.
So, but I get organic foods and vegetables, and I, you know, just fix it myself.
Right.
I mean, I can't.
I love it.
You know?
Healthy.
Cook at home, you know.
Yes.
Many of us do.
And I think it's good. It's good to kind of get to know what your body needs and how your body responds to things. I like to take away the word shoulds.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, shoulds.
I love that.
I don't like those. That's not coming from my own inner heart and space. So I just do what I like. Do what tastes good, you know. Do what makes me feel good about the fact that eating that food,
Right.
you know, whatever it is.
Now here's a big question. most of the people I know that are into yoga are either vegan, lacto-ovo vegetarian, or vegetarian. I mean, so what's that all about? Because I mean, everyone here, at least in Los Angeles, per se, there's more vegetarian restaurants that are coming about. But have you noticed, as the years have moved forward, that there are more people that are open to being vegetarian versus anything else?
Yeah. I think that the people are starting to get healthy.
Yes.
And this has been going on for the past 25, 30 years, the emphasis on eating healthy foods. I'm not a vegan.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is really. But I think vegans eat fake stuff, fake meat, and things like that.
Do they?
They can sometimes.
They can? Okay.
Yeah, so
the tofu and the tempeh, is that?
Yeah.
Is that?
I do tofu. I don't do a lot of tempeh, but I do tofu somewhat. But some of the foods that seem like so artificially made so that it looks like chicken, but it's not chicken.
Yeah.
Right.
Looks like this, but it's not that.
Right.
So, well,
I
if
don't
you're
understand what it
if you're
is.
eating it with your mind,
Right.
then it's affecting your body also.
Right.
Right.
It's a burger, but it's not? No. Oh, my. Okay.
So, but that's a person's choice, and I don't criticize that at all. I just say for myself that if I wanted to eat meat, I would just eat meat, but I don't. I don't need to eat false meat or fake meat or anything like that. It doesn't really satisfy me.
You trained some amazing people to take off in their careers in yoga. How many, I don't know if you can just count it on your hands or maybe, like 25, 30, but there's a lot of young men and women who are very successful because they started with you. They trained with you. So in LA, is it over like 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 5 dozen?
A lot of people.
It's a lot of people actually, and they've done it their own way. They figured out how often, how much, and where. And sometimes it's just themselves, and maybe just a couple of people. Sometimes it's large communities of people. But there's a lot of people that have done this in LA and outside of LA.
Okay.
In different countries, they moved to different countries. But the fact that they're practicing and that they're continuing to teach and share is just a very heartwarming thing for me, because it's so important, and because there are so many people right now who are taking yoga.
They are.
And practicing yoga in some form or another. It's important that there'll be good teachers out there. It doesn't mean that they've all kept up and done that, because you're a human being and things come up in your life, and sometimes
That's true.
You fall off the wagon. But for those who have kept up, they're actually amazing teachers, amazing teachers. And there's people in L.A. and Long Beach and Santa Monica and different places that are doing a great job.
Now, if someone wants to connect with you, and as far as your Instagram and your website, what's your website address? I want people to tune in, go to your website, connect with you, because you have classes online.
Yeah, I have a Monday night class at 7 o'clock that's been going on steadily. I have a Friday late morning meditation at 11:15. It goes on to 12:15. And I have an early morning practice. We call it sadhana. That's on Wednesday mornings. It starts at 4:30 a.m.
Wow. 4:30 in the morning. Really? All right now.
So my website, I think it's krishnakaur.org.
Okay. KrishnaKaur.org.
I think that's what it is.
Okay. And we'll have everything.
Yes, I've got people that are taking care of all these social media things for me, because it's just too many things to remember. And
you're
I'm
traveling. You're
so
teaching,
grateful for them,
Yes.
because they're
So
on
powerful.
it, and they're doing such a lovely job, and I'm just grateful for them. But yes, it's
The final question I have, and you may have one too, YouTube. Where can people see you teach, your yoga sessions on YouTube? Because YouTube, that's where I get a lot of my resources for exercise. I tune in, and it's on the big screen, and I follow, the teachers, because I was looking for you on YouTube. I was like, where are you at?
Did you find me?
Now, where's the yoga? Because you used to have like a series of yoga tapes and things like that I would love for people to see. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I wish I could tell you. I know it's there, but it's easy to call Janine.
Okay. Call the assistant. Yeah.
Or you can just go on my website, and there'll probably be some things there.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of things out there that I'm not even aware are still there. You know, and I'm glad that they are and that people are getting some benefit out of them.
Right.
And I would encourage them to keep going, but whenever possible, just try to get into a live class somewhere, because it's probably the best. And as things are lightening up, I'm going to go back to live soon.
Good.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to it.
I'm going back to
You have
live
to go to a
soon.
class. It's really great.
Absolutely.
And yes, and training as well. I did a training online, a level 1 training online, and it was
Pretty good.
It was good, but it was difficult for me.
Right.
Because I want to see your
Connect.
face, and I want to be right close to you.
Feel, connect.
But they did a good job, and I'm very proud of them. We've got people teaching all over the world.
This is good.
Wonderful.
In Ghana and in everywhere, you know. So I'm just happy about that. But I do like to be in person with folks, and so...
She's coming back.
Sure.
She's coming back.
Sure. There's nothing like that.
So,
Face-to-face connection.
yeah. So
And I still want to just keep... We just did a yoga for youth training not long ago here in L.A. because I'm still concerned about our youngsters.
yeah, they're number
And I
one.
want to have parents learn that they can teach their youngsters. I want them to have... When parents to have the skills that can help their children, whether they're preteens or teens or whatever. This is a time when the family needs to get together and do whatever is the best thing for their child.
Family
As
yoga
much as-
is very important.
I think so.
Yes.
And on that note, we're going to wrap it up, and we're
Absolutely.
happy to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
appreciate it
much.
Thank you.
We
It's been
appreciate
such a
it.
pleasure.
Thanks.
Yes, Krishna Kaur, yoga. You got to log in. You got to get tuned into her world.
Yeah.